Welcome everyone. Adam the Woo here. Today's adventure will take me around the greater Los Angeles area as I traverse through the fictional state of New Jersey in the 1998 film set in the mid-80s, The Wedding Singer. It is not in New Jersey, it is in Southern California, and I'm going to attempt to hit all the spots. It's going to be out of sequence. The timeline will be a little off in order to procure each of these destinations throughout the course of the day, starring Drew Barrymore, Adam Sandler. It's a fun film, and I'm inviting you to join me as I find the locations. Shall you? Got my clipboard, been watching the Blu-ray quite a bit lately, got some screen grabs. Got a lot of information here that's going to be very helpful and organized. Got to be organized. Starting in Sierra Madre, heading over to Julia's house. Did some street parking and actually talked to the residents that are walking out of that house there, which was where Drew Barrymore was up in that window, and Adam Sandler's character Robbie walked right past this tree. He was talking to himself about how he thought about her every morning when he woke up, and he was going to go up and tell her exactly how he felt, but he saw how happy she was up in the window and he just couldn't do it. So he turned around and went back to the bar. Talked to the residents who were out front in the yard. They said there were quite a few changes on the interiors, and they have redone the rock work out front on the ledge there, and a new paint job. And there was an awning above the balcony, which is gone as well. But other than that, it does look pretty similar. A lot of the windows have changed quite a bit. Her car would have been parked right out front here. This is a designated historical landmark by the city of Sierra Madre, and you can see that little placard. In fact, right here in the movie, there is that historical marker there. I never noticed that before. That's interesting. Another scene took place here as well. See, the other vehicle pulls up right here in front of the home. Looks as if the siding has also been replaced over the last couple decades. Up at the top portion there. They did use the interiors. They used that upstairs room. She was looking in the mirror. Because the camera focuses out the window here where Sandler was walking up. In fact, this little manhole here can be seen very prominently, and the curb. I was flipping the pages to give you an example. This curb and that tree as he was walking away. A little bit of growth from the limbs, but the way the tree forks upward, it's like they've cut off some of the branches. Well, that's it. Right there. If you can imagine, this is where Robbie was standing. We had to have some good eagle eyes to see her smiling from here. Located on the corner of Sierra Place and Santa Anita Court. And the residents were very nice to give me some information. They even took a little walk so that I could get some of the angles I needed without them being in the front yard. Okay, moving on. I like this neighborhood a lot. It's very quiet and peaceful. The birds chirping. That's right, Big the Foot. On that porch is also where Holly kissed Robbie and realized that he was in love with Julia. And she had no chance. Heading over to Huntington Library and Gardens now. On the property here, this stretch of land with all these figures along a little corridor of grass. At that very end, there was two different weddings that took place with Robbie when he got stood up at the beginning and at the very end. You know, it was a little happier occasion at the end. And it kind of took place down there near that building. The band was set up right here, and she's coming into frame there to deliver the bad news that his fiancée was not arriving. But notice the figures over here. Those would be these very figures. That would be the precise angle there. So the wedding would have taken place right here under this backdrop. They would have erected a lot of fake foliage and trees behind the partitions, looking that way, just to give it a backdrop, as well as when Robbie's looking in this direction, as seen here, also more fake foliage. But really the way you can figure out that this is the spot is because of the little gazebo over here that Drew pops her head out of, well, around. Notice the design of the pillars and the two figures that are etched right over there. That's the spot. Pretty cool. This part of the premises, you have to pay an admission fee. Well, the whole property. There is a daily fee or a membership in order to see this spot. It is beautiful. Very vast, expansive property. They only use this one section for the wedding singer though. One of these days I'll have to return and explore the entire area, but I've got a lot more to cover. So keep moving. Over to Pasadena now. Very short commute, a couple miles. Beautiful landscape through here. Arrived at East Topeka Street. This would have been where Robbie was living, in the basement, a fictional basement down below of this homestead. This was used in many, many different scenes throughout the course of the film. This tree, very prominent. Give an example here, when the limo pulls in, and that's the same tree. Also, quite a bit took place on that porch. Also where Drew threw all the music sheets up in the air, was right there on that sidewalk. And they built around the side a fake entrance into the basement, which would have been located right around that section. Brickwork next to the staircase has been replaced, and they have placed rocks instead over time. Seems to be really about the only major change. The tree behind Sammy, as well as the brickwork in the driveway, is identical. No palm trees in Jersey though, but there are in Pasadena. And there's the driveway I was referring to. Pretty neat how pretty much still looks the same. I believe it's even the same color paint as it was. This is looking down the road before he pulls the limo into the driveway. See how the trees all line up correctly. He pulled in there. See his friend. And then at another time, under the shroud of nightfall, the branches on that tree, kind of an array of branches there. As she was waiting up there, he was sitting on that little ledge on the stairway. Once again, this is where all the papers were strewn around in the yard. A better angle would have been in this precise spot here. Even the homes just across the road still remain as well, kind of in the backdrop as well. This gives a good perspective where they built the facade of the stairway down to the basement. Off to the side of this home, you can see in real life it does not exist over there. It was right next to the chimney, the bricks from the chimney, just past that. Just had a nice lengthy conversation with the owner. He's up there on the porch now. He's giving me some information about that he was here when they were filming it, and they did do interiors inside as well. Said the rooms are very spacious so that they could utilize the inside also. And the brickwork I was mentioning that I thought the owners would have replaced and fixed into rock. He said it was originally the rock work and they just, you know, Hollywood magic put the brick over it. But it's always been rock from before that they were here to film it. And it's been used in a few other productions as well, but The Wedding Singer being the most popular. He said people always stop by and take photographs. He knew exactly what I was doing when I was standing over here. From here, about 7 or 8 miles or so, over to Montrose, to the next destination. Camera would have been set up at the end of this alley, but this is where Glenn drove his DeLorean down. I'm walking the same path that Glenn was driving that car to pick up his fiance, who had had a little too much to drink. It is now a diner, a cafe, but you can see they set dressed it to look like an 80s club right there. You can also see that manhole cover there below the DeLorean's front fender in the front, and the windows also on the little brick formation over there is the same as well. And there's that manhole right down there. A couple blocks away, also on Honolulu Ave, a couple other spots, including this establishment, which was the bar. Interiors, which cannot go in. There is a "Sorry, we're closed" sign during these times. The exterior is where the fight took place. You can see them walking right along here, having a pre-bachelor party, as he stated it. And yeah, the brickwork. Robbie bought his own bottle. The bartender said, "You can't drink that in here." So he said, "I'm gonna go out to the alley." And the fight took place right over here, kind of right in this section. I always like to match up little details like the paintwork on the bricks here. If you look really closely and you kind of count where the bricks are painted here, like that's a full piece of paint there. That's kind of scattered paint. And then match it up to the screen grab here. This is what I'm kind of referring to right up there. You know, it's little details like that. It's hilarious when the elderly man throws the punch. The older gentleman makes contact, but Glenn didn't flinch at all. Would be fun to get inside the interior, but you know, in this day and age with everything going on, cannot see where the moonwalk was being taught, right behind those bricks. Yep, interiors were in there. This was a sandwich shop, had the signage painted right there on the window, as you can see. And next to that was a bakery where they filmed the interiors of, you know, eating some cake. Adam Sandler fed a piece to a lady that no one knew who she was, just a random lady. Here's one of the moments from that particular scene. Looks like there are going to be a new establishment's going to go in here. So the sandwich shop was there, bakery was right here. What I'm saying is, what I really want is for someone to hold me and tell me that everything is going to be all right. Yeah, that was right in there too. Heading now into Descanso Gardens. These power poles. I might not be able to access it or get to it, but right over there in that parking lot is where Sammy was practicing with his vehicle, with the limo. They were cones! Yeah, it took place over there. See if I can maybe get an angle of it. As you can see right there on the fence, it says this area is off limits. But it does look the same. It's a very expansive area of concrete where he was driving around. There is a certain tree over there that I might be able to zoom in on that we can pinpoint it. Tough to tell from this distance, but I do believe that's the one that Drew and Adam Sandler are standing in front of when they're timing him, right there in the center of the screen. You can even see how there's a little bit of an incline there on the hill. And how funny is this? They were cones. They were cones. Those could have been guests at her wedding. They were cones. I'm like way too excited that this is the spot. Wish I could get in there, but it's off limits. They were cones. As I wait to depart this spot, I'm kind of noticing with the gate and fence over there, the trees I was just standing by, if the camera was in this spot, that right over there are the trees and the gate that I was standing by, looking the opposite direction, obviously, but yeah, right over there. Okay, moving on. Now 17 miles have to go over towards West Hollywood. A little bit of a ways. Just one block up there is the Sunset Strips, well, Sunset Boulevard, right before it turns into the strip. Who would have known that Rosie's house was just a few feet off of that very busy thoroughfare? She was getting the singing lessons. So it looks pretty much the same. This tree has grown quite a bit, and the picket fence is not there. Probably was just placed there for production value to give it that quaint look. And looking off the porch the opposite way, you can see the home over here is still the same. I have to look very closely, but the garage is still back there as well. And they did film some scenes in the backyard just past the house. This is from around the back, but you can see how the driveway is made up of these type of tiles here, and those still exist as well. It's neat how this is not anywhere near the other homes on the complete opposite side of the greater Los Angeles area. Even though this looks like it could be a Pasadena home, it's not. Off to Wilshire Boulevard now, about 6 or 7 miles, give or take. Hello, bird. Now it looks a lot different than it did back then. This is the Robert Kennedy Inspiration Park, because, little side note, this is where his tragic end took place. He was wounded here. But also, in the same room where Robbie was singing Love Stinks, next to that room was the kitchen. It's kind of an interesting tie-in. Very interesting. This is pretty much all that remains here from the former entrance to the Ambassador. We used to drive right through here. Lots of productions took place, not just The Wedding Singer, and not just the Kennedy history, but kind of disappointing that it's been torn down. Here's when he is having his campaign rally, and then you kind of look and see another photograph that I found. That's the way the roof looks, and then look at the top up here, and that's from The Wedding Singer, and there's Sandler there. Pretty wild. Same room. Now, as far as I know, there is nothing left of the original building. It's a completely new structure back in there, but that's where the Ambassador stood. Long gone. Another thing I noticed when watching the scene, a young Brian Posehn is biting Sandler's leg right there after the song. That would have been right here on property too. Yeah, just noticed. I think that's Brian Posehn, and it is. You have to look very. It only happens for a moment, but he's in there. On to the final spot. Downtown, straight ahead. Almost there. Oh, puppy. Parking was a little difficult, but found a structure up here, and I believe what I am looking for, which was the bank building, is right over there on that corner, used for many different films and productions, on the bottom floor. Walk down there and over there now. Located at 650 Spring Street is the address. And it was used as the interiors where Robbie goes to get a job And Kevin Nealon denies any interest in him getting that job. These would be the doors. You don't see any of the exteriors, but there's the address there, 650. Notice the windows at the top portion up here, how they're kind of have the little archway circular pattern. You know, this is on the outside kind of peeking in, but it's those same type of windows. Would have been more towards that end down there though. All right, I found a spot where I can kind of peek through the window. It looks the same kind of pattern on the walls and everything. It's the same in there. Obviously no office furniture. They're made to look like a bank. But yeah, that's it right there. Hasn't changed much. Especially that pattern there on the woodwork there above Kevin Nealon's head. Yeah. This is the place, definitely. That's going to do it for today. If you're new here, please subscribe. By doing so helps keep you in the loop, updating on future uploads here on this channel. If you enjoyed this particular episode, give it a big thumbs up. It lets me know you care. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is over.